This Wagner Power Steamer 715 is a great steamer for small projects, and you can't beat the price. In this video, we'll talk about what you get and how it works. Let's get started. Welcome back to DIY Savvy. I'm Kyle, and in this video, we're talking about the Wagner Power Steamer 715. Now, we've already been using this steamer for about 10 hours. We used it on our wallpaper removal project down in the foyer. So instead of just showing you all of the parts laying out on the table, I decided to throw it back in the box, but for dramatic effect, of course. But I'll pull all of the pieces out here, and then we'll go over them one by one, and I'll show you what you actually end up with. So set that aside. So let's talk about what you get in this kit. So obviously you're going to get the steamer, and this is about as simple a steamer as I think you're going to find on the market. There's no on-off switch, there's no power indicator light. It's literally you plug it in, you put water in it, and it starts to make steam. So you've got your filler cap right here. Take that off, you fill this with water. There is some type of a little relief valve right here. If you lift this up while you're filling the water will actually go in a lot easier. You've got your hose connection on this end right here, and then on the back side you've got your receptacle for your power cable. So like I said, this thing is about as simple as it's going to get. It holds about a gallon of water, and it'll run for about 60 minutes. We've used this for probably close to 10 hours, and I can tell you that after using this for an hour, you're going to want to take a break. So I have no issues with the fact that it only holds a gallon and it only runs for 60 minutes to 70 minutes. So that's the main component that's going to come with it. You're also going to get your power cable, pretty basic. You're going to get 2 steaming plates. You get a larger steaming plate to cover larger surfaces. So main bodies of your wall, you can use this on, and then you get this smaller plate that is made for corners or maybe areas between molding, between door trims, things like that. I didn't have any issues with the steam escaping this or being burned using this plate from that steam. I did have some issues with this smaller steaming plate because it's a smaller area inside here. That steam is more concentrated, and if you hold it at the wrong angle, if you're not holding it completely flat against the wall, that steam can escape. And there were several times where I noticed some of that steam escaping, and it'll burn you extremely quickly. So you need to be careful when you're using this one, and you might even want to wear some gloves or something to kind of protect your hands from the steam. So you get these 2 plates, and then you also get a nice long 12-foot hose. This thing is rather cumbersome. It's a little bit gangly, and it's not particularly flexible, but it actually works really well. All of these components, I would probably consider them to be moderately to cheaply made. I'm not expecting this thing to last 10 years, but it's $60. If I can use it on our wallpaper removal project over the next 3 or 4 months, get 3 or 4 months out of it, and that's going to be perfectly fine to me. I think this main component here will last several years. I'm sure you could let your friends borrow it, and you'll be fine. It'll run. Like I said, these hoses are fairly cheap feeling plastic. These connections here are all plastic. So if you've got your hose connected to your steamer here, which is super easy to do, you just thread it on there, hand tighten it. You don't have to have any tools. It makes a nice solid connection. We didn't have any issues with steam leaking from these connections. We didn't have any issues from steam leaking at the hoses. But again, if this thing is set up and a dog runs by or a child runs by and trips on this hose, I'm not expecting these connections to last. I would expect this to break fairly easily. I don't know that to be the case, but just given the way that this feels, it doesn't feel like it's going to hold up to someone actually, like I said, tripping on this hose or stepping on this hose or something like that. The hose is identical on both ends, so I can show you right here. You just take the same connection, and you thread it onto the steam plates like so, and then you're all set. Like I said, it takes about 15 minutes for the steam to start being produced. After about 12 minutes, we noticed a little bit of steam, but there was also a lot of really hot water spilling and spitting out of this. So you want to be really careful in that 12 to 15 minute range before it starts becoming pure steam, that we did get a lot of spitting of hot water coming out of here. So, you know, if you've got pets, if you've got small children, when you're using this, you want to be really careful that they're not around this thing, because that water came out obviously it's boiling essentially in here, and so you got boiling water coming out of the end of this hose for just a couple of minutes. So be really careful if you've got pets or children around this thing, or if you're an adult who's just not very careful. You need to be cautious that you can easily be burned by some of that hot water that's coming out of there. So that's what you get in the kit. I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. There's a little bit of water in here from the project that we worked on downstairs. I'll plug it in, and I'll just show you kind of what it does in that 10 to 15 minute range, and then we'll wrap this up. All right, guys, so the steamer has been running for about 12 minutes, and this is what I wanted to show you. It produces a nice amount of steam, and it produces plenty to do things like removing wallpaper, which is what we were using it for. There you go. You can see that water kind of spitting and popping and bubbling out of there. That's what you got to be careful for. That's what I was talking about. You know, if you've got kids or pets, you don't want to leave this thing laying around. All right, so my final thoughts on the Wagner Power Steamer 715 is that you can't beat it for the price. We picked this up for about 60 bucks. We looked at renting one. Now it would have been a professional steamer, but it was like $150 was the cheapest rental that we could find. So, you know, for 60 bucks, you buy this thing, you own it. It's going to last you several years. I don't have any doubt on that. If you break a hose, you know, I'm sure that you can find a replacement. But you know, it's overall, it did what it was supposed to do. You know, we bought it to remove the wallpaper, and it did that. It did it exceptionally well. Does it make a little bit of a mess? Yes, but I imagine that any steamer is going to make a mess. Does it have a few issues when it starts up with spitting out some hot water? Yes, but if you know that and you're prepared for it, then it's not that big of a deal. You know, just make sure the kids aren't around, the pets aren't around, things like that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you found it helpful, please consider subscribing or hitting that bell icon so that you get notifications when we upload a new video. We'll see you in the next one.